it's a kind of a crazy project that everybody is like really been interested in, and now we'd like to kind of get feedback from you guys tonight. The plan has kind of evolved from what some of you may have seen before, some of you may not have seen any at all. We're hoping to continue to get feedback, but I think we've reached a point now where we're starting to get closer to the compromise that people want. So our team is comprised of our founding students, Cole Apple, who's here with us tonight, Ryan Haas, Jack Furneaux, their college advisor, Claude Bartholomew back there at the back, and then in 2017, Lindsay Elston, a student from Philadelphia, joined our team as well. We're supported by Vern Fisher, our landscape design consultant, who we couldn't live without. And our board of directors include Keith Aplow, Jan Haas, and David Furnell, who could not be with us tonight. So can you take us to our mission? So, Greener is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. Our goal is to collaborate with towns and communities to restore and improve our greens. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Cole to kind of make a little bit of a statement on why we chose Newberry Upper Green first.
Yeah, so 3 years ago was where the project first kicked off and really stemmed from my personal wanting to see the green, enhanced and replenished. I've had a emotional connection to Greener. That's where I learned to skate. First played Little League there, and seeing it in disrepair was something that I felt should no longer be. And so we've now committed a large amount of our time and effort to starting Greener, getting the approval of the community, selectmen, and hopefully raising funds in order to improve the green.
Excellent. Thank you, Cole. Claire, can you take us to the next one? So the Department of Conservation for Massachusetts says greens do not only hold historic significance, but they also hold contemporary value for our communities. It's a gathering place for celebrations and activities. They're public spaces that should reflect the collective interests, desires, and values of a community, representing civic pride and functioning as a focal point of community life. So the goal of Greener is to be able to improve on and enhance that value that the Department of Conservation tells us that our greens and commons were made for and founded on. Go ahead, so the next one.
Could you guys speak a little bit louder? I don't know. If you,
Sure.
That'd be great.
Claudia, can you go to the next one?
Yeah, it's on the next one.
Oh, sorry. So the history of the green, everybody probably already knows that it was established in 1642 when the town outgrew the lower green space. It's pastoral land, it's a watering hole for livestock. It was a training ground and encampment during the Revolutionary War. Then they added the baseball field. The other additions to the green were the flagpole, additional memorials to represent those who gave their lives for our country, and some benches were installed. I'm not going to bore you with continued details, but it's evolved over the years for community use, and now we want to just kind of improve on that a little bit more. We want to restore it and bring it back to some of its historical significance with the landscape, but at the same time improve it as we go. Can everybody hear me okay? Yep, okay. So some of the highlights of the project, as you can read on the screen, are the fieldstone retaining wall, which is currently in repair. It's not a fieldstone wall, but it's in disrepair, so we're going to put in a nice New England one. It's going to match what kind of is across the street on Green Street that runs along those private properties. We'd like to put in a Goshen Stone pedestrian walk to improve accessibility and use on the green. Some of the feedback we received was that what we had originally proposed for the walk and to go around the pond was too much, so we've taken that back quite a bit. We're not going to go around the pond. We're just going to connect two of the memorials and have that small little promenade there. Relocate benches around the pond area to align as appropriate. We're going to add some hydrangeas, ground cover, mulch. We just want to bring attention, kind of enhance the look at the aesthetics of the area where the memorials were and to highlight that history. The pond aeration system is something to improve the function of the pond, and we know that it kind of is a little funky as it is. So, remove and replace the dead trees and stumps. This is not only for safety but also for aesthetics, and I know this is kind of a hot topic, one that we'll get to shortly. We would like to, after talking to Recreation and Little League, relocate the ball field. This is not only for safety, but it's also for the overall look of the green as well. So we want to repair or replace. We need to have this one assessed. We haven't had it looked at, but to repair or replace the flagpole was requested of us, and we agree it's in significant disrepair, but we're not sure if it has to be completely replaced or not. That's not only for safety, but also for aesthetics. The entire project will be hydro-seeded. Chloe, you keep losing my screen here.
Yeah, the cord's loose. I think I have plugged in the wrong side.
All right.
Just keep talking.
So the green will be regraded in completion for drainage. So this will also help with the function so it doesn't flood and improve the drainage of the property. And then the other interesting topic that was, second to the trees, in my opinion, were the cattle. Our team happens to love the cattle. We understand that we'll probably be removing that from the plans, but if we were to add the cattle at some point during the project, it was to bring attention to the original historic use of the green. And we did find, after meeting with Historic New England, they had pointed out there was some precedent for cattle in other communities in New England, Connecticut being one. The project has 4 phases and 20 steps. So I'm going to kind of go through these a little bit quickly so that we can get to your questions. I think that that's probably the most important part of the plan. Phase 1 would consist of 3 steps. Removing existing trees and stumps along High Road, install New England fieldstone sitting and retaining wall, install the 6-foot, we have gone down from 8 foot to 6 foot for the Goshen stone pathway, based on feedback that we received over the last month, that 8 foot was a little too wide, it was taking away a little too much of the natural vegetation for us. Phase 2 would be to grade the lawn on High Road side for the walkway, remove the existing trees and stumps on the northwest corner of Green Street, and install the Goshen stone promenade area around the flagpole. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. All right, phase 2 continued, would also include grading around the promenade and planting of the hydrangeas and the mulch and the pieces that I spoke of earlier for aesthetics. Phase 3, remove the existing trees and stumps along Green Street. We're going to do the trees in phases as we remove them, or if the approval is given that we need to take them all down at once, we can do that as well. Like, we're very flexible on how some of the phases work. Not all of them, but how some of them work. And speak to that a little bit more as we go. That's not working. Install the level grass walkway. So for phase 3, step 10, what we're going to do, instead of doing the whole Goshen stone around the pond, we're just going to put in a level grass lawn area around there based on the grading and what needs to be done. So you can still kind of walk around the pond edge, and then we would put in the aeration for the pond and things. Sorry, is there something?
Oh, she was telling me that you're on phase 3, but I couldn't, I was trying to hold the cord while you were talking.
Sorry. So now I'm on phase 4. Can you get me to phase 4?
Yep.
So we're going to install the pond aeration, and this is where we're going to keep going with our stone walkway. I'm sorry, phase 4. So then, now at this point, at the end of phase 4, we've got to the point where we're going to take down all the trees should have been taken down. Either they're going to all come down at once, or they're going to come down in phases, and we're going to put out the new trees. The tree that has been chosen by our expert is the Zelkova tree, and it was chosen because it's the closest that we could get to what would historically be the look for the canopy and kind of the growth. Right now the trees kind of have all been chopped up or they're dead from power lines, so we'll be moving them in some, we'll be spreading them out, doing a few less trees to allow for that canopy. This tree, which we're going to speak to, is disease resistant as far as we know, and it has that, What kind of tree was that? It's the Zelkova. All right, Chloe, we can get to the end. So there's no single use for comments. This comes from the Department of Conservation's publication, the Terra Firma 6. no uniform appearance any more than there was 3 centuries ago. Commons remain a part of New England life. Still at the heart of many communities, often revealing in their appearance and use as people's covenant with shared space. So the goal of Greener is to share the concept of this project, come together as a community and agree on what that project will look like, and then hopefully a year from now we will have the improved green. So that's the end of the PowerPoint presentation. I'm sure Chloe's really glad for that. So at this point, I'd like to open it up for questions. We want to keep them kind of focused and try not to repeat the same questions over and over, and I mean no disrespect to that. I just want to respect everybody's time here tonight. So who wants to start?
What about funding for the project? Where will the funding be tax dollars?
No tax dollars. The project will be completely self-funded through fundraising efforts. At this time, we've raised a little over $50,000 in order to do our engineering studies, and we had to have stormwater assessment done and things like that. We're not looking for a single dime on tax, unless you want to donate.
I have a couple comments. First of all, who's going to keep track of the tile and pay for that repair when all those break and need to be replaced? Are you coming back to do that, or is that tax dollars?
So it's going to be a combination, I think, over time. And what I mean by that is we're going to start off, Greener's not abandoning the project once it's done. So we will spend the first couple of years making sure that we have volunteers that can still go out there and still make sure everything remains that way. At a certain point when the town accepts the gift, which, if that's the way the board is selecting to be going, there's a meeting tomorrow, at some point the town will have to take responsibility in a few years for the upkeep of the green.
Okay.
May I add to that, just to answer your question, it's Goshen stone, it's a native stone out of Maine, and they're between 3 and 5 to 6 inches thick. So they're very large, and they're going to range between 2 and 3 feet, so 6 foot on average square. So they're very large and very thick, so I really don't see them breaking very easily. I think it would be extremely hard for them to break. You could drive over them with a tractor or cars.
Just another question on the trees that you're taking down. You plan to take down those big, beautiful trees that have beautiful foliage in the fall every year? Because we have seen that since I was a little kid, and I would hate to not have those trees that make our green as beautiful as it is now.
Right. On that, what we're trying to do, and I've got pictures up here that show some of the historic looks of the green when it did have elms all around it. They were planted somewhat further apart so that they would be healthy and mature. You can see the entire beauty, the form of those trees. Because of Dutch elm disease, oak oval was chosen because it's the closest tree that we know of that has that form that is highly disease resistant, insects free, to give that original look. The color, just so you know, because we're going to go at 5-inch caliber trees. We're going to be 25 feet to begin with in height. So they're large trees instantly. The fall color is yellow and orange with a tinge of red. So they're really quite beautiful. And they also they have one, and I've got it on the computer, that's over 1,000 years old in Japan. So they live for hundreds and hundreds of years. So if they're planted right, as we plan to, well away from the wires into the green with good base, they should last for generations and generations, hundreds of years.
So, but your direct question was, are we taking down current trees that are blooming, right? Is that what you were asking? I just want to make sure that that's...
You made it sound like you were taking down all the trees and
So-
replacing them with new trees.
What's been told to us and explained to us, and what Vern and the tree warden have looked at, most of it, there are very few trees that are healthy that are on the green. So it has been proposed to basically take down all the trees and then replace them. But like I said, we're open to kind of doing that in a different phase. Like maybe we don't take down the ones that are still relatively healthy enough and maybe can be saved for now, and we'll just take down the ones, because there are a lot of trees that are dying or dead and they're stumps. So that's certainly feedback that we can take if that's the way that the community wants to go, and the board of selectmen and the planning board.
What I did do is there's some pictures up here that show existing conditions. And if you look, you can see where the trees have been taken off on one side due to the proximity to the wires. So you have a lot of trees that are completely lopsided. And what we're trying to do is replant them all at the same time, so they all mature at the exact same rate. So you get an aesthetic instantly, and it only gets better over time. And we're starting with large trees from day one.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe there isn't a tree that's native to North America. I mean, okay, this tree looks like what used to be here. You know, that's like a plastic fence, it looks like a wooden fence, but it's still a plastic fence.
The answer for that is really because we're trying to create the look of the American elm, which was what was planted around the original Upper Green. They have added other trees over time. As Dutch elm disease killed off the existing trees, but we're trying to create that original look. And the best known tree is for that, and it's part of the elm family, is Zelkova serrata, green base. There are other trees that could work, but they're not going to give you that look.
And when we met with Historic New England, we had proposed that this was the tree we were looking at, and they said it was a very reasonable tree because it is disease resistant. It will give us that look of the historic image of the green that we were going for. So it is why we chose it. But
Maybe we're going for this, we're going for that. Maybe that's the way it looked back in the days when the philosophy was a little bit different about a green. But now the emphasis is on the first planting, on native plantings, plantings that would be beneficial for other things such as looking pretty. I would much prefer, if you're going to put in new plants, to not be hydrangeas, not be Acacia, be native plants and a mixture of them that would stand the disease and the infestation much better and much more reflective of current feelings of vegetation.
okay.
Have you considered disease-resistant elms, or have you seen Elm Park in Groveland? Does it use all disease-resistant elms when they? I grew up in Groveland, and you know downtown was horrible with bad apple trees and stuff like that. And you know to see all those disease-resistant elms go in, and you know, the anticipation of having seen all the old photos of that grand canopy. I mean, I know there are disease-resistant, you know, breeds of elm.
They do, we looked into it, it's just, and I'm not saying no to it, I'm 100% behind it. If people would like to see the Princeton elm, the other disease-resistant elms, that's great. But they're not as disease-resistant as the Zelkova. We have never seen problems with the Zelkova, there have been problems. I have the book out here by Michael Dern, which is probably the leading expert on arboriculture. You can read about it. We chose that because it's highly disease resistant. Even arboriculture, we just didn't want to take a chance.
We wanted to know if disease-resistant elms need ongoing treatment.
Yeah, they need injections of fungicides, right, on an ongoing basis too. So I can see where that's prohibitive.
There have been problems even with highly disease resistant, and where Dutch elm disease is actually spread is underground. It's spread through root grafts. So people think it's from the insect. It actually goes into the xylem, goes down into the roots. The roots cross even through the microfibers, and that's how it's transported from one tree to the other. The reason we chose Zelkova is because it's the one specimen, one cultivar, and it's part of the elm family, even though it's from Japan, that has not shown any problem with Dutch elm disease and gives you that look. So it's kind of considered now the replacement for the American elm for that reason.
I don't have a question, but I wanted to open up to people that are interested in this project. I know that we have a big issue with geese on the green and also with water quality in the pond. And I wanted to throw out there, suggest that one thing that might greatly mitigate both of those problems would be to plant the perimeter of that water feature with a border, a vegetative border of plants that went down into the water. Wouldn't have to be super high if it was, say, 24 to 30 inches tall all the way around the pond. It would break the geese's view of the water, which makes them nervous, makes them more likely to choose another pond in the area rather than that one. And also it would help filter, it would buffer the water from any fertilizers or any together nutrients coming off of that lawn. And it would also help with the erosion of the edges of the pond into the water. And the roots of those plants, if you plant into the water with appropriate pond plants right around the edge, it helps pull nutrients out of the water and clear the water. Depending on how it's done, there are companies that will do it, there are people from New England Wildflower Society that will come out and help put together an installation of those plants. In some cases, you can mitigate the need for aeration and filtration of that water system. So yes, it's something that needs to be maintained, but not once it's planted and established, it doesn't need significant maintenance. But it might serve the purpose of both discouraging the geese, creating a definitive boundary around the pond, and then be edged with a mower, so we have a nice clean edge, and would help with cleaning that water. And there are turtles, there are dragonflies, there are herons that are using that water body as it is right now. That would be that much more encouraged if there was more cover there, vegetative cover of appropriate plants. So I know that looks different than the way the green has looked for a very long time. But there aren't any cattle to trot down those edges of that pond anymore. So if we didn't mow it down, there would be vegetation that went around that border. So it's something to consider as a town. Specifically, I mean, it's a different aesthetic, but it is an aesthetic that would discourage geese. And we could even have some, boardwalk steps so that people could still get to the edge of the water. Just in a few places, if you wanted to have some people go right up to the waterway. But when I talk about a border, I'm talking about something that's like 5 feet wide. Starting on the bank and going down into the water, maybe 5 or 6 feet all the way around.
Actually, I'm glad you brought up the comment, because this came up during our Conservation Commission meetings, and they actually currently have a wetland scientist who's been putting in enzymes that are natural, that help break down some of the bacteria, etc., and help aerate and clean out the actual pond. That's being done.
Right.
Actually, in the plan, we have left an 8-foot buffer, not 5, around the backside, all around the perimeter of the pond for native vegetation, leaving it as is, because it does exactly what you were just explaining. It aerates, it cleans, it's natural. If they wanted to, the town expressed that we wanted to plant other native plants on the edge, we'd be more than happy to do that. But as is with the Conservation Commission and so forth, we're working on that. We have left an 8-foot buffer, and we are leaving it completely natural.
In your introduction, you say that this 501(c)(3) has been formed to store and help historic greens, and in this case, the 501(c) will succeed because you have found a donor who's making a legitimate tax deduction. And you say you're working with other towns and cities.
No, this is our
cities
first.
that you're working with now, and in order to succeed in this whole thing, you need to find similar generous people. And it depends on that generous person whether this succeeds.
Well,
I get the idea, but I think
That's okay.
I can speak a little bit to that. This is our first project. This is, in fact, our first project at Greener. Are you hearing me? I'm not sure. I should stand up.
oh, the depth. That's all right.
That's all right. That's all right. Keith here. This is our first project. So we don't have a secondary focus. We've raised our money not from a single individual, but from many donors. And there are lots of donors and substantial entities that are ready to contribute, but they've all said we can't do that until we have final approval to go forward, of course, from the town. That's what this is about, this inclusive meeting and the other meetings we've had, so that we can then trigger the much more substantial donations that we will be able to receive. So when I raised $1.25 million for the Jeannie Geiger Crisis Center, our goal was a lot less than that. But once you get the momentum going, people really come to the fore. And whether it is, wealthy individuals or just folks who contribute, or the legislature, or places that have grants, we'll meet our goals. And we're not moving on to other projects until this is completely done.
But if you get to step 4 and there's no more money, then what happens?
Well, all the steps, Vern can speak to this, but all the steps are completely self-contained. So it's like writing a book that has chapters. So they are meant to be that you could literally do a phase and walk away and say, isn't that nice? The green looks better. And then if we didn't have money, God forbid, we would leave it at that. But that's not going to happen. We're going to fund this through to the end.
I think if you might have partially answered my question. What is your budget for this project? And I think your plan B, I'm going to say, what is your plan B? It sounds like you're going to phase it in if you don't get what you hope you're going to get from donation.
The budget of the project could be as much as $650,000 to $700,000 if we go forward with the cow. And I say that because the cow themselves are $150,000 plus shipping and installation. So the project could drop significantly without that. It also is going to be, the estimate will go down because we've taken out the Goshen stone all the way around the pond. So that took out a chunk of money as well. So I think we're looking closer to the $400,000 by the time we take in all the feedback and likely have to
Change.
adapt some of
You
that.
raised-
And the way the phases work, as Keith was mentioning, we have so many steps in each phase, and then so it will complete an entire phase. We will have the funding for that phase, we will complete that phase, and then move on to the next phase. And then, as Vern had spoken, for some of you I've been to the other meetings, but for those of you who haven't, those phases at no point take the entire green off the market for use. Like, you can still use the rest of the green that we're not working on. The timeline for the project could take us as little as 4 months, but as much as a year to a year and a half, depending on weather and the baseball schedule, because at no point are we going to mess with the Little League schedule. So depending on when we get our approval and our funding, then determines what we have to schedule around everyone else, because everything will be self-contained, and we don't want to mess with that schedule for the kids.
So people that are interested, up here, we have the phases set up, it's on the board, and if you look at it closely, and I can answer questions one-on-one, but it's self-contained. We're going to put the fences up, the hay bales around phase 1. Every other part of the green is open. And once that's done, we move the fencing and the equipment over to phase 2, fence that off. Phase 1 is 100% complete, right down to the grading, and it's open. Once that's done, phase 3. Phase 4 is the largest because that's the backside, and that's where the baseball field comes in. And we have to do all the grading at the same time. As you know, it collects water, and it's unusable many times after a storm or when the snow melts, etc. We're going to correct that. So that would be the largest phase, but the other part of the green will be open while we're doing phase 4.
Down on the back, and
Two quick questions. The baseball field will be located where?
so,
On the green somewhere?
Yeah.
correct. It's- we're
Okay, that's all I
moving-
need to know. Second, what is the mechanism for your approval? How does it work?
So for the entire process, we've been before Conservation, Planning, Board of Selectmen. We continue to go before them. We collaborated with Recreation, the Tree Warden, and Historic New England. The Board of Selectmen are meeting again tomorrow, and then our next planning board, because we had to continue our public hearing with the planning board, is in April, the first week of April. I got a public calendar for that one. But so that's about another month out for that next public hearing with planning. We have to have approval from all of those boards before we can get our permit in.
Please specify those boards again.
So planning, Board of Selectmen, and then Conservation has already given us the go-ahead based on those other 2 boards giving us approval.
So 2 boards.
So we have 2 more to go.
They're just waiting on the phasing to be done, so once we give them the phasing, which is done, then they will sign off on it. They've
They being conservation. They being conservation. We do not have approval from planning and Board of Selectmen just yet. But there is a Board of Selectmen meeting. I know everybody loves to go out 2 nights in a row for meetings like this, but there is one tomorrow if you want to join us to hear that. They're going to discuss, I think, the project, and at some point, whether it's tomorrow night's Board of Selectmen or a future one, and maybe, I think there's a couple of them here from the Board of Selectmen, they're going to decide whether they're going to control the project or whether or not they want to accept it as a gift. So that might be a meeting that's interesting to everybody as well, and how that will work. Correct.
Okay, we got a pretty good crowd here, I think. What is it, maybe 60, 70 people here? I'd like to see you ask for votes on certain things. Not votes, but a hand count. Like for instance, how many people would like to see the cows and how many wouldn't? Just as an example.
I'm actually not opposed to that idea. Can we get through and see how far we go with questions first? And I would be curious to see where we're at with the cows.
Okay, I have another point.
Sure.
Have you people observed the level of the pond today?
I went by in the dark. It looked really high, but it was dark. Sorry.
It was extremely high.
It was really high.
And I've made this point before that the drainage system for that pond does not work as it is. And that has a major effect on why the field is flooding. I looked at it, and the level of the water in the field is about 1 inch different from the level of the pond. We've got to correct the drainage in the pond. Once you do that, things are going to change there quite a bit.
Yeah, there's actually a difference of about 18 inches of the lowest spots. And we actually have pictures where it shows it completely flooded. It's fed by the underground stream.
Have you seen it today?
I've agreed with you in regards to working with the DPW to find out about the inlet that comes out of there. We want to work with them and try to clean out that inlet so that we have better outlet. Yeah, well, it's got an inlet out, right, correct, the outlet, thank you. But it actually is the grading, because if you look at the grading plan existing, which we have, it's been completely surveyed, and what we're proposing, we want the water all to naturally flow down towards the pond, and it's too low because it collects.
I'm not disputing that that would help a lot, but the first problem and the biggest problem is the darn pond is not draining.
We will address that with the DPW, and I know you brought it up every time, and I agree with you every time. So we're, no, it's good, Fred. So we will work with them to try to fix that, especially in phase 1, because that's when we're going to be fixing the retaining wall, which is cracked and broken. At that point in time, that would be when we would want to look at that. So that would be addressed in phase 1, working with the town.
All right, there was this gentleman.
I've got just 3 comments. One of them is in your new drawings, the latest one. By the way, thank you for taking the path. In the drawings you got here, I noticed that the slope is about 1 degree in the area that the, I'm not 1 degree, 1%, in the area around the relocated ballpark. It's a little less than 1% out there now, which is part of the ponding problem and probably neighborhood, probably a bowl out there on top of it. For most green areas like this with grass and mowed, 2% is kind of...
actually at 1.8, not to the right.
Is it that much?
It's at 1.8.
I'm doing it with a ruler on this.
Kevin Engineering did it, we worked with them, we're putting it at about 1.8% slope for that reason. It still looks level, but it's not.
Even where the ballpark is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It looked flat in there. So that's,
yeah, it's actually 100% level.
Comment
not
two.
all, because we need to have the water runoff. So.
Comment 2. If you're going to be moving that much dirt around, this place has been around for 350 years plus, and a lot of events have occurred out there. I really wish you'd do an inexpensive, but at least completely on the area archaeological survey. Is there anything out there with you, magnetic survey or something like this to see if there's anything out there? Once you start scraping things, it'll either be buried or removed, one or the other. But just something like that could be done in a little report.
So Historic New England made the same suggestion to us that if we were going to be looking to scrape away too much of the vegetation, that we should look at an archaeologist and do some sort of, and after looking at it with Vern and the engineers, and then Vern called the archaeologist that was recommended to us, we're actually not going down as much as everybody, so we're going up. And so they don't, and Vern can speak a little bit more in detail to that, but the archaeologists did not think that it was necessary for us to hire them to help us.
And the reason is because we're building up the entire green. The only place that we have to really dig down is right in front of the pond where the wall is going to go, because where the existing concrete retaining wall is now, we're going to fix it, and then veneer the backside and pond side, we're going to go up to make a small sitting wall, and then come down in front for the structural stability. But even then, we're raising the grade right there, so the grade's being raised everywhere. The only place there's going to be any real excavation except for scraping is going to be right there in front of the pond. Everything else we're building up, we're not going down. So their suggestion was they didn't think that we would need to do where we're not really excavating anything.
But you're not,
It's all we're building.
Moving it to the side, I understand that, but you are redistributing.
We're actually building everywhere.
Especially going up.
Yeah.
And the last one, I don't know what to say about this. The baseball park, where you're moving it, now becomes the visible feature in the green because of the backstop. When it's over at the corner, the backstop is kind of on the edge. Now it's going to be more out in the middle, and I like the ballpark back where it was, and I like your idea about putting it in. It's kind of like a cow out in the middle of the field. You know, it's a baseball park.
Just so you know, and so everybody knows, where we put it was mainly because that's the one place that it would fit according to regulations for a Little League field. You can't put a baseball field there. There's not enough room. But it will fit there, and where the backstop is actually in front of the historic house. So it's not in the view of any of the surrounding houses unless you look at an angle. Where now, it's right at the end of Rolf's Lane. I live on Plum Island, so I see it every time I come to the end of Rolf's Lane. So, but it was the primary reason that we did it was for safety, and on the request of Little League, the parents, the umpires, and we have some people here in the audience that would like to speak about that. But it's really a safety concern, and aesthetics did absolutely come into our thought process.
Wait, this gentleman is next.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. You mentioned that there's been some changes in the plan on the stones. What is the current plan? What is the purpose? Is it just aesthetic? Or is it have some structural?
So, go ahead.
Well, yeah, well, the main idea with the walkway was to gain accessibility for wheelchairs. Because right now it's be very hard for one person to be in a wheelchair to have that accessible to them. It's actually just hard to walk the period right now. So improving just the accessibility of the entire pond for all people was the idea behind the walkway.
Just to address that, there actually is, it's hard to tell because, but if you go down there, right in front of the retaining wall, there's a 6 foot wide stone dust path that was the walkway. There's actually sunken granite curbing. There is a path there now, but it's completely overgrown and it's a mess. So what we were trying to do is to come up with a way that we could have accessibility, fix the grade, have it blend in naturally with the landscape. That's where the Goshen stone, natural stone, comes in instead of brick or concrete or asphalt, which is what most walkways are made of today. So that's where it came in, but there actually is access now. It's just a mess and it's overgrown. So we're just replacing that with Goshen stone, so handicap accessibility, and everyone can get to the edge of the pond and to connect the two memorials. This Arnold, the Rock, it's called, down by the baseball field currently. The other is the Civil War Memorial, which is over by the flagpole, and then the World War II Memorial. We we are not connecting, but the idea with the cattle, one would be laying down, a bronze calf would be near it so that it would draw attention, and that maybe people would come take pictures and actually take light of the memorial and respect.
She was next, wait, she was
Oh,
next.
sorry, you're right. Thank you, Flora, for keeping on track.
I just wanted to know what your budget is. If you are not counting the cows and your report for making less of them.
If I make less of a walkway and no cows, and then depending, because now it sounds like we may or may not be changing some of the plantings or the trees, but I'm gonna say 450 to 500,000, just to be on the safe side, because we don't know 450 to 500. I like to overestimate. Like, I'm hoping it comes in significantly less than that, but, and then,
Half a minute.
that too.
Pretty much, 500,000.
Yes, we're going there. Go ahead.
I was just going to vocalize support for the location of the field as projected on the front page of the handout. Currently, and I can speak to this consulting couple other baseball coaches, they all kids in the league.
Oh, can you stand up and yell? Somebody's gonna
I was vocalizing support for the location of the field as depicted on the front page of the handout. There's a lot of us here that have children currently that play baseball, and the position of the field as it stands today, it's a hazard because the sun's directly in the eyes of the kids when the ball's being thrown from. Additionally, a lot of times when they field a foul ball, they come dangerously close to the streets. And the baseballs, pretty much every single game, we have 1 or 2 baseballs that fly into the street that they have to retrieve. Or a coach has to retrieve. So one thing that's definitely beneficial about this plan is the safety aspect for all the kids and the community. Having the field in that location as opposed to right adjacent to the busy intersection between High Road and Hanover Street and Moss Lane, that corner, I know several of us have been speaking about that for years, that's exactly what we support, voice of support for that.
I'd just like to continue with Matt said. We've had several of our intertown communities, it's 9 of them altogether, that make up our league, and each league president has also supported this initiative based off of the safety issue that Matt pointed out. The proximity of the foul space between the benches, which are unprotected with both Hanover and High Street. There's multiple balls that go into traffic. There's oftentimes smaller children that are the siblings of our players that are there watching games. And moms and dads are on constant alert trying to watch, keep, their son or daughter from scurrying, for that foul ball when they chase after it. So it just makes a lot of sense. We've also received support from the umpiring association that actually refuses the past umpires, which are typically our elite umpires, have refused to have any games under their supervision at that location because of that exact safety issue of the proximity to both of those streets.
You're doing some proposed great changes to the green. My question is associated with parking. Parking right now on the green when any of the Little Leagues games are going on, it's just frantic. It's parked on the green, sideways, any which way but loose. What are we going to do to ensure that all of this investment is not ruined with all the parking? Where are people going to park?
So we're not changing the parking pattern at all. It's not in there. So in my guess, people are going to continue to park where they park right now, even after this. The nice part of the project, the trees will be set a little further into the green because we're taking them out of the power line. So what we're doing is going a little further in. So that's nice for protecting our project. I don't know if that's so nice for the parking, but they're going to park where they park unless the town has another solution.
Yeah, just to add to that, the great idea which we all have, moving the trees would also ensure that if people would be inclined to park on the green or near the green, their cars won't be damaging any roots of the trees. So that's a good aspect.
It did come up actually at the planning board meeting last week where they suggested that possibly they might be able to park over off of the side streets where the fire department is and where the police department is. Now, whether or not that would be a town issue, but it's always, our view was that the upper green People have always parked along the perimeter of it. I don't know what to do, there's not enough room for parking except for around the perimeter. Dr. Atlow lives there, so he can.
Yeah, it's, you know, I suppose there might be a better solution, but we don't feel that we're in a position to dictate those terms. If we made it part of our proposal that our funding was in some way contingent on moving cars away from where they park, we get a lot of resistance from people who say, look, I want to continue to park where I park. We've always done that. So it's a mixed bag. It's up to the town. If the town decides in a future meeting or series of meetings that they want to alter the parking pattern, that's up to the town. But we don't feel like it's our place, frankly, to dictate that.
Well, it is also a safety issue, so that, with the kids there, it's also a safety issue.
We leave that to the
so.
town.
I drive by that street every single day going to my house, and there's, you know, a lot of distractions driving by the green when there's a lot of activity going on there.
Yeah, it's just outside our.
I understand.
purview, if
I
you will.
understand.
But I understand what you're saying. I do.
I have several pros and cons and some recommendations. The first one is the drainage. I stopped at DPW today. It happened to be lunch, and all seven of them were eating lunch, so I spent 10 minutes with them. One of the fellows believes that there's positive drainage that runs underneath High Road from the pond to the bankside, and then by gravity underground is fed down Morgan Avenue. If that's the case, that's probably the best solution to the problem. It may have to be cleaned out, but that doesn't need to be a big issue. If in fact that's true. Second, heat control. Is there any provisions within the plan that will address that, or is there a solution, or is that going to continue to
The
be a
geese
problem?
have been an ongoing problem, and it's probably not a problem that Greener can solve. They haven't been able to solve that problem for years, although I do think that we did write down the recommendation of the woman in the back about vegetation to see and do a little research on that to help if that's going to cut down the geese. One of the meetings we were at, the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen and Planning, we were told to call Hadley. We tried to call Hadley. It wasn't really Hadley. Town council helped us. It was UMass. And by the time we got around to what it was, the solution for their geese were to shoot them. And Greener's not taking up shooting the
That
geese.
sounds good to me.
Sounds good to Fred.
The other improvements I see is stone walkways with its full element or part of. The plantings, I'll talk about the small plantings right now. Is there any plans to clean out the pond? Take any sediments out?
No, we're just going to aerate it. They actually, the Conservation Commission, as I mentioned earlier, has been working with wetland scientists, and they are using the enzymes and so forth to clean it up. There has been no suggestion for us to, you know, you'd have to drain it, dredge it. We had no intention of doing that, we're just trying to clean it up and aerate it.
The other positives I would see, if in fact you fill it in, bring up the grade, you're going to have a much better quality grass areas. If you prune some of the existing trees, another improvement, grinding out stumps, new trees, that's an issue I'll talk about in a few minutes. Dressing up the retaining wall, repairing the flagpole, and the pond aeration, I see as positive aspects. I agree with Susan, I think parking should be an issue, but I believe that the town should take that responsibility to determine how parking is and not the green approval. Now, roughly I figured if you fill in an area 200 by 150 feet, a foot deep, that's over 1,100 yards. So you're talking about some significant fill if in fact that's done, is that correct?
Yes, it's a lot of fill.
Okay.
That's why I said we're not excavating, we're actually building up to get the proper grade.
Now, the biggest few drawbacks I see is cutting down 19 trees. Looking at all of the trees collectively, they average out to be 2-foot diameter. These are huge trees that are coming down, and I don't believe that's maybe in our best interest, but I'll make a recommendation in a minute on that. Moving the ball field, there'll be many people who will have pros and cons on that. recommendations would be that you work out a schedule over 2 or 3 years. And the reason I say that, I believe that you really need the summer and the fall, collectively, for everybody in this room, in the town, to look at the trees that are there and see the beauty that's there. You can't see that today in the winter. There's no leaves on these trees. When they do leaf out, you'll know immediately in September which trees should go and probably which trees should stay. That should be a fairly simple decision. That being said, if you wait till fall, then you've lost your season to do too much more work in there. Although some of the infield work could be done, and there is some work that can be done. The cost to do this, I'd ask for a copy of that estimate. Is that available tonight, or could that be put on the website so we could all look at it?
I can put it on the website, yes.
I think that would be good for everybody. Also, the phasing, which was here tonight, I don't think many people could see that. I think, again, on the website would be a great place to put that. Everybody could see it.
Yes, I put the plans on the website after our meeting.
Yep,
a week ago,
I've gone
whatever.
through.
But yes, I didn't get the phasing.
I've gone through the plans electronically. In waiting to fall also for not only the full growth of the trees to green out, but how they color out in the fall. My recommendation is not to cut down all the trees. I think you can salvage some of them. And before you go ahead and do it, you want to mark which ones are going to come down so people would know. And then in turn, you could stake out very easily where you'd want to plant new trees. I'm a believer that there are many native trees in this area that could be included, which would be sugar maples, blue spruce, firs, black walnut, birches, copaiba, and probably a dozen others that are native to the area. Obviously, you have to throttle that down to something that makes some sense. Additional lighting. Is there any plans for any? I know there's one light, floodlight there now. Is there any plans for additional lighting?
The only lighting that we propose is to put in lighting on the flagpole, to light the flagpole up. And we were going to put in a solar light, if possible, just to light that up. We have had a lot of feedback. We have gone to many meetings, Jim, and people want to keep the historic nature. That's been the general overall comments that we've gotten overwhelmingly. That's where the trees come in, and they did not want the lighting, especially the Historical Commission and other people. They do not want to see it looking like an urban green, as they suggested, like in Boston. So we're trying to keep it as historical looking as possible, even though there have been iterations and changes over time. And that has to do with part of the reason for the planting as well. Now you can keep some trees, you can add other trees, that's fine, it's just a whole different look. And it's also much harder from an economic standpoint if we're going to be changing the grading, and you can see from some of the pictures of the trees that are there, then we're going to constantly be cutting down, replacing, cutting down, replacing. Or maybe never, which is what has happened from what I understand. Maybe nothing will ever get replaced or done. So that's just something to consider and know that once we're done, we're not coming back 3 years later and doing it all over. This is an opportunity for the town. If not, that's fine. We don't have a problem with it, but just understand the repercussions of that, because you won't get that look. It'll never come back. It's impossible.
Vern, if you guys do the great job you're going to do, I'm sure you'll come back in a few years and even make improvements.
No, we won't.
I didn't, lighting just come, and I don't know if it's a good thing or bad, but I went down to Raleigh and I looked at the lights there, they're antique type of lights, and I throw it out the commentary because you don't have to put 100 up, but maybe you want to put 2 or 3, and I'll drop it at that, and let that get beat around.
We tried that idea initially, it came up, but the Historic Commission was adamantly against it, just so you know.
Okay, that's good. And the last thing was, I make the same comment to maybe you want to consider archaeological investigations, but to do it on a timely basis and determine the scope of what you're going to do it. If you're going to do it, it's going to be one of the first things.
Right.
Thank you.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a quick question.
Sure.
Is this your first project of this sort?
This is our first project for Project Greener, yes. And that's
But
what
have you
Paul
done
has
this in the past? somehow. And how do we know that you have the expertise to pull this
Yeah,
through?
you brought Vern.
He's the guy?
Yeah,
the guy.
speak to your experience, you can stand up.
So you're the epoxy engineer?
I can just.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 55 years old. I've been doing this my entire life. I hold degrees in landscape architecture, urban forestry, landscape construction out of Stockbridge. I was an internationally certified arborist and a Massachusetts certified arborist. I hold many certifications, and I've been doing this my entire life. So my entire background is construction. All my degrees are in construction, and pretty much know what I'm doing. I worked for an engineering firm. I ran all the tree crews that took care of all the trees at MIT, took care of all of Harvard. It's just a little bit of my background. So,
I think you get personal, just ask me a question.
It's a good question.
It's a very good question.
It is,
It's a valid
right?
question. Yeah.
So who's
that
certified?
is, and I've been on front covers of magazines, we've been on television, we made the top 10 cars in America.
Thank you, Vern. Sir.
One of the historic uses for the
Sorry, shh,
green,
wait. I'm sorry. I can't. Stop. Can I hear you, please? Yes, please.
one of the historic uses for the green has been hand top musters.
Yes,
Hence the little road, hand top lane.
yes.
You put the ballpark right in the middle of
No, we
We
didn't.
consulted.
That's right
with-
where they squirt their
Nah.
No,
streams.
it's strategically aligned just so that that doesn't interfere.
We've
How
spoken
can
with
it
them.
not interfere? The backstop and the whole thing is in the lane.
Yes, sir. We actually
They
went
have
out
to
in the
see their
field.
stream.
Wait for him to finish.
When they call out, they have a guy on top of the hand top. He's watching the stream. If he can't see it, it's a no-go.
Yeah.
Just so you know, because that was a huge concern, and we love this whole thing, you know, I love the historical nature of the things that go on, the activities. We went out there with, what was his name, I forget, but he's in charge of the muster, and we walked it, we marked it out. We said it wouldn't be a problem whatsoever. If you like the location, we're gonna do that. Because it was far enough back, we actually marked it on the field with them. And he wrote a letter to that, to the selectmen in that regard. All they have to do is slightly move the tub, and it'll shoot just to the left of it. So they go right up and over, and we do have a letter, and we actually did it on site.
And the trees you're gonna put out are 20 feet high?
25 on average. I mean, they're 4.5 to 5.
Those are
inch
gonna look
caliber
like
trees.
toy trees compared to the trees we've got now. I wouldn't wanna see you cut down a good big tree now to put in one of those toy trees.
I think we've noted the trees.
One last comment on the ball field. If it's a safety issue, you might be able to move 10 feet in from High Road and 10 feet in from Hanover from the existing site to get at least a little bit more buffer there. So that when kids are going around the back, they're not so close to the road. Just a thought.
May I have Matt, who's the president of the Little League, if he could speak?
We thought about that.
360-degree game.
I'm sorry?
I said it's a 360-degree game. Somebody's going to be facing the sun
It is, but.
at some time of the day.
All right, what?
I can answer one thing on that, so hold on. North and south, just so you know, everyone should hear this. North and south is how you normally would put a baseball field. That's how you want it to be geared, north to south. We've done that as much as possible if you look at the north arrow. So where it's located now with the sun angle, and I'm just saying this for a safety reason, but a lot of people don't know this. We have moved it so that the sun angle is moved the way that as close as we possibly can, that it should be when you're putting together a baseball field, just so you know.
Yeah, the current thought process of moving it in towards the field more from the current location would not negate the fact that as the sun sets, it is still in the eyes of the batter, the catcher, and the umpire. So that's part of the safety issue that I didn't mention before. I think the ball going into the street is a greater concern, but when we started talking about this, shifting of the field made perfect sense with the angle of the setting. So,
Thank you. And just to the comment about the toy trees, just as a footnote, I think the trees in their majesty, even though they are suffering in and some of them are hazards, actually. Some of them are hazard trees that could hurt people. But nonetheless, they are very beautiful at times. I'm thinking less of me and less of you, I'll be honest, than I'm thinking of future, young people and generations. We're starting this so that we get a uniform, unbelievably beautiful canopy of the kind that people stop and gasp at. And that's more for my grandchildren, frankly, or for this guy when he's our age. So that was the idea.
So how many years will it be before these new toy trees look like real trees?
With all due respect, sir, if you look, Zelkova trees grow very fast. They put on 3 feet a year. So if you start at 25 feet, they're going to be 40 feet before you know it. It doesn't take long. They're very fast growing trees, and they're very old trees.
All right.
There's 2 trees on the infield right now. There's a blue spruce, one beside it. Are they coming down or staying?
Because a lot of people like them, other people don't like them, we have not suggested removing them at all. If the town decides to remove them, that's fine, but we did not suggest removing them because it opens up a big can of worms.
That's it. Gentleman in the hat.
Yeah, back to the ball field.
Back to the ball field. The trees in the ball field, that's what it's all about.
Well, the ball field where it's positioned right now takes up about 30% of the green. Is that because you have to leave the aisle open for the hand tubs?
Why the trees are not in that section is to open up for the tub, yeah, for the mustard. But if you look, and again, that's why I brought the existing, we have trees down near the flagpole, there's a bunch of trees, then there's a huge space of no tree. And then there's a couple of trees up near the mustard, there's only one on Hanover Street. There's 2 silver maples.
Trees. I'm talking about the little, why is the ball field so far out of the corner of the green? To me, it would be
So we
less
were taking it
exposed.
off the road for safety, it was shifting, so it's off the road, it's out of the sunlight, and then it also takes into account the muster. I think that's what you're asking me, why did we go where we went?
Well, it
It
seems
had
like
to
it's
be
right in the middle
strategically
of it.
placed to meet all of these needs, and so that's kind of where the best measurement for the size of the Little League field, so we needed so much space, and then we needed to change the angle, then we had to take into account the muster, so all of those
You had to make
pieces
all the pieces.
put
fit
you
the
right
puzzle.
there.
And also because with softball, and actually Woody Cammett from Cammett Engineering out of Amesbury was a coach for many, many, many years. And when it was really set up because of the dimensions of Little League, and when you hit a ball and it goes to the left, it goes to the right, we need to have that room. It was actually positioned there because that's what dictates, we need that room.
But wasn't it not a Little League field to start with? It was a pickup field? Public field?
Possibly, but it is
Not
evolved into
possibly,
a
it still is, I believe.
Anybody has the right to use
Is
that
every
field,
field
right?
called a
It's a-
field? Yeah.
It's a
Yes.
community field, it's a
6 weeks, our Little League is 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Our Little League, if we make playoffs, it's 7 weeks. Correct, like, we're just going back on.
Wait a second, she said Little League is 6
Okay.
weeks if they
The
make
Little League
playoffs
is
it's
6
7.
weeks. Really, April, last week in April, most of the time, there's still snow, rain, and we get cancellations for the one where we do full month of May, and 2 weeks into June, if we make the playoffs. Other than that, it's all public, it's so public during the season.
It's public property, it's a town-owned green.
Correct. So just for going back with the backstop, I don't think in the plans it's blue and green. I think it's black and see-through, a black
Screen, backstop.
backstop.
Yeah.
It's going to be possibly black and see-through instead of backstop. Chain link, black chain link, so as you drive by, you see through instead of the weird green, a big green, and old. That was proposed and possibly the best way that it's not visible as you drive by, it's all see through.
What was the comment?
Thank you. Sorry, what's that?
What was the comment about you couldn't hear?
Oh, sorry, she's saying that the backstop that's kind of being looked at and explored for the new location of the baseball field would actually be like a black chain link, so it kind of disappears, so you could see through it when you're going. So it's not this big wooden structure that is now in the middle of that side of the green that everybody's worried about seeing. That's what she's saying. What they're exploring would be something more see-through. That's what we'll use.
Quick question, a comment. The square footage of the baseball field that's proposed, putting aside where it's being moved, will that change? Will it change the square footage of the diamond itself?
No, it's sized out for Little League, and we kept it at Little League size,
All right.
because that's the primary use. I know it's only 6 or 7 weeks, but that's kind of the main use of that.
So there's no change to the size?
Proportionally, not at all.
No.
Secondly, I just want to commend all of you on your presentation tonight. Obviously, change is difficult, but I think we all agree that the green is in some state of disrepair. Whether we're talking about the trees, we're talking about the pond, we're talking about retaining walls, the ball field itself. And I just want to commend all of you for the way that you've looked at this and presenting it to a group with their opinions. Obviously, a lot of opinions in this room, but I think we all agree that there's an opportunity here. And the fact that you're using this forum to provide that opportunity for all of us with a variety of interests, we really value that, so thank you.
Thank you so much. It's very kind. Thank you.
I had a question for Vern. As I recall our conversation with you for the Zelkova, those are what are planted down now in Newburyport on High Street at the federal courthouse, is that correct?
Yeah, it's
Now,
actually.
I went down there, like,
it's
there
a
must
mix.
be 30 or 40 or 50 of them, is that correct? Sort of a double row?
Yeah,
And maybe
absolutely.
30 or 40 feet high at this point? How old are those?
They were planted probably 8 years ago, somewhere around there, 8 years ago, but they were much smaller. They went into 3-inch caliber, 2.5 really.
So those are smaller caliber than you planted here?
Yes.
And those trees that are there, will they continue to grow 2 or 3 feet a year?
They will, but that's actually a cultivar. It's a mix. It's not just Velcro. It's a cultivar.
Okay, but all of those down there, there's 40 or 50 of them, those are all Zelkova?
Excuse me?
No, he says they're mixed.
All of those trees that are at the courthouse in Newburyport,
Yes.
are all of those Zelkova?
No,
They're not.
no.
On the LA they are, going all the way
Right.
down. He said, yes, it's a mix. Yes, it is. Meaning that it's a cultivar, meaning they mix Velcova with Chinese elm.
So if people wanted to look at them, that would be a good example for them. to go
Correct.
and look.
Yes. And actually, anyone can go online and look and see, but I have the book here, which explains Zelkova, its growth, its problems, its diseases, its overall look. There was a reason why we chose it. I mean, there's a lot of trees we could pick. We were just trying to create the historic look of the upper green. And that would be the best tree with the least amount of problems and to recreate that.
And the reflection in the bronze cattle, not only did it, just kidding, that's just a little joke.
I don't find any of it funny
No,
tonight. So, on that note, if there's no other questions, I do think I'm going to entertain Fred's idea. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
I'd like to have the show of hands about
I
cattle
was
versus...
getting there. I have 3 because there was the cattle. So the baseball field, the trees, and the cattle. So should we do a hand vote on the cattle first? Who wants to see the cattle and who doesn't?
What do you guys?
So who wants to see it? Wait. The yeses first.
If I may.
No, you may not.
Don't understand
You
that.
may not.
No, we don't
You
want
may not. You may not. Anybody want to see the cattle? I am tough. All right, overwhelmingly. How about the relocation of the baseball field?
What are we voting on?
Yes or no? The relocate, yes or
You're
no?
not doing it, yes.
Yes or no?
So listen, no, stop.
Raise your hand if...
Sir.
Would you like to see the relocation of the baseball field? This is,
Go back to the cows.
the cows were a no, hands down.
What did you ask that?
Who doesn't want to see it? The
This is who
relocation of
doesn't want to see the baseball
What's the
field.
question? The relocation of the baseball field. Who does not want the baseball field relocated? So this is about a 50-50 split in this room right now on the baseball field, so that's interesting. We can go back to the cows, but I don't know if I need to go back to the cows. Who wants to see the cows installed onto the upper green at the end of our project. No, you are with the rest of them. Who would like to see cattle? Yes or no? Who wants to see the cows? No, I can read this again. Who would not like to see the cows? Thank you. That was very obvious the first time.
Hold on, wait.
So wait.
Let me just say something about the cows. If you put cows on the green, it's gonna smell like cow.
Not real cows. So, okay, she's on the jokes too. And now the trees. I think there's an interesting dynamic here on whether or not we should be taking down all of the trees or not. I don't want to necessarily vote on the type of tree because I think we have a lot of feedback on that and that's just going to take forever. So how about
Why don't you say native or not?
Okay, how about that? We can go native or not. So who wants to we're going to entertain our community for a reason because it is our community. Who wants to see a native tree? Yes or no? Yes. Who does not have an opinion or does not, I don't want to say doesn't care about whether or not it's a native tree? They're okay.
We want the best tree. Yeah, the best tree.
So I have to tell you, the trees in the baseball field were kind of half and half in this room. What about
What about all the trees?
I'm going to get there now because now I think that's an important factor that's been kind of raised a few times, whether or not we take all the trees down at once and put in a whole new canopy that grows together and uniformly. So who would like to see the trees done all at once, yes or no? Yes. Or no?
No. Are we voting? No.
That's an unclear question. One of the questions.
Yes, I know, I said yes or no at the end of that one.
One of the questions should be, how many people think at least some of the trees should be salvaged and not cut down? Then, those are cut down, then there'd be additional plantings.
How many people want to see some of the trees salvaged
But not cut down.
and not cut down? Raise your hands. So it's pretty much the same kind of mentality that we think that we had from the last.
Is anybody tallying us?
So I'm not hand counting, but I will tell you the room is very divided on the baseball field. There's no question about the cattle, okay? No question about the cattle. And then the type of tree, whether or not it's native or disease resistant, is pretty split as well. So we have a little bit of work to do. But I think the other part of this is getting the feedback from our planning board and our board of selectmen as well. We have a few of them here tonight. I'm sure they've taken into consideration what's been discussed here as well. And our project is going to evolve based on that and then based on their feedback. They are the overseeing
May I make a suggestion? May I make a suggestion on the cows? I know you people.
I thought we just decided the cows were dead.
May I make a suggestion, please? I know that you people really want to get the history of the cows on the green. Have you thought about putting a granite plaque with a little etching of the cows and the sheep and a little history of it instead of a bronze cow?
So there's a sign which shows historical landmarks that could be done. It's actually on our display board.
Yeah, going off.
Okay. Yeah, that would answer your concern about the history of the green.
Yeah, no, that's important. That was actually an idea we had when we first had the idea of the cattle. The plaque was always partnering with that. So it's an interesting idea to have those, maybe without the statues. But yeah, it's a good suggestion.
Something simple.
Yeah.
And our last two comments. Did you want to go?
It's, just so people are aware, it's, I believe, it is a state law that trees cannot be cut down without a public hearing on it. So whatever decision is made in this room is great.
Doesn't make any difference. That was my
State
point.
is the state, and that law has to be.
We have to follow the governing bodies that, yes, dictate where the project will go. We can take in this feedback, and then we can present it to all of the governing bodies, but in the end, they're going to basically tell us these are what, and we know that there are laws we have to follow, and they're going to make sure that we follow them.
It's the same thing like the border wall, a boundary wall. It's fine for moving or touching them, but most people don't realize that.
Right.
So all those little laws that are hiding around the books and been there for 300 years that people just not aware of, so.
So we rely on
So
the
you
labor
know that there's
agreement.
a question in the township of this, people that aren't aware, that in order to take a tree down, a town tree, you have to have a meeting, a public meeting. It has to be posted in the paper, and there has to be a public meeting. And the tree warden would be a part of that. He sets it up through Timberlake. And so we're aware, nothing would happen with the trees, no matter what, without having those public meetings and without having the approval of the tree warden.
The Conservation Commission weighed in on the idea of putting in monoculture foundation.
Did you say conservation?
The conservation.
We went to conservation, we have our preliminary approval from conservation, we have that with the plan that we presented. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but I will say that we're gonna have a little argument on our own over here about vegetation and trees and at a certain point, because you raise an interesting point about plantings on whether or not they should be a little bit more diverse. I happen to love hydrangeas, they're my favorite, but maybe that isn't appropriate, and we'll need to kind of discuss that and figure that out. Yep. One more, then we're done.
One more. I don't understand why the town isn't doing that. We wouldn't be the fundraisers as we were when we said we ran past on the other side of the Lower Green. We were the fundraisers. We had the township, so there's a rules about this.
So again, there's a Board of Selectmen meeting tomorrow, if you want to give them that input. I haven't looked at the agenda to see exactly what they're discussing for our project tomorrow, I'm sorry. I know we're continuing discussions with them. But they also, at their meetings, whether it's tomorrow or future ones, will be discussing if they want to take on the project and control it, or if they want to accept a gift from Greener.
So we the nonprofit fundraiser for the town, but I think that we trust our town officials. We voted for them, and we very much like them to be on Highwood.
Wait, Cole has to respond.
Yeah, just to respond to that, it was a good idea. Our thought was giving it as a gift because raising, I guess, $500,000, we're spending $500,000 on the green is not really something where the town is in a position to do. So I guess that would be why, we would want us to give it as a gift instead of having a tax equal or something.
The other reality is, Joni, that there are a lot of rules that roll out that the town would need to follow. That if you receive it as a gift, you don't have to necessarily go through the same procurement process. For instance, Vern has been paid $0. If we don't use Vern for this project, he might be owed something like $100,000. Okay, he's been at every meeting. He's been to innumerable planning boards, everything else. So I don't really want to pay that bill. I want to impose upon my friend for his largesse.
But we like the rules of the town.
Well,
We like the rules of the town.
Okay, but I don't know if I can raise another 100,000.
So that would be up to the Board of Selectmen, though. That's the feedback that the Board of Selectmen need to hear from voters is, like, if you want rec, and so.
I just need to speak to your comment, having spent years trying to get baseball fields built down in Kentway, that yes, we have rules in the town, but this project would die on the vine if we waited for the town. And that may sound cynical, but I've been on the other side, running in circles for years trying to get something done.
Yeah, we want to thank everyone for coming in, spending time and giving suggestions. We all appreciate it.
Absolutely, and like Vern said, we have some pictures up here, we have the plans up here, if everybody wants to take a closer look. I know I didn't have enough handouts of the plans. They are on our website, and I will get the rest of the information up on the website in the